The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, I'm Carl Seidel, host of The People's View, sponsored by the Nashua City Republican Committee. And if you want, we meet at the Crown Plaza the second Thursday of every month. And if you want to find out more information, you can go to our website at nashuagop.org.
Welcome to The People's View, a program dedicated to discussing local, state, and national issues and their effect on the American people. The People's View provides a platform for state representatives and national figures to present their viewpoint. Whether it's social, economic, or financial topics, you'll hear it on The People's View.
Hello, today our guest is Marilinda Garcia, our candidate for District 2 Congress. So Marilinda, how's everything going in your election procedure?
Fine, thank you for having me here, Carl.
You're quite welcome.
Appreciate it. I don't see you in the legislature anymore, so.
Well, I know, you sat right in front of me. That was a beautiful view, and I can attest that you paid attention to everything.
Yes, right, and I was there,
yeah. Yeah.
It's good.
But,
things are moving along well. You know, it's been a long campaign, obviously, and since I live in Salem, and our district goes all the way up to Canada, there's just a lot of traveling to do, which
Definitely.
is, you know, it's great, though, to really
get to meet a lot of different people.
Absolutely, and visit towns in the state that you wouldn't necessarily drive through. So we're trying to be sure we're everywhere.
What do you think is your biggest issue that's biting with the voters? You know,
You know, I try to let them direct that in terms of course, you know, I've worked on healthcare policy reform in the State House. We all think that regulations are getting out of control. So, you know, you and I both work to reduce the size and scope of government. We think it's important to keep taxes low and be good stewards of the taxpayer resources. So those are all important, and that's what I talk about. But I also really like to have that feedback from the voters themselves, because I think that's really important, right? You're elected to represent, so you ought to be attuned to and listen and try to act on what concerns them most. So I'll tell you that definitely jobs in the economy is important, education and healthcare in terms of them being able to make decisions for themselves is very important. But a few months ago, there was this sense that everyone was just saying, you know, too much government, it's too intrusive, too many regulations, taxes are too high. They just feel as though government's encroaching and encroaching and encroaching upon every aspect of their lives. But now there's an added dimension. With what's happened with ISIS and with Iran, you know, being sort of not being scrutinized as much due to other issues that have arisen, Russia being so aggressive, and then this Ebola threat, people are saying, you know, I don't feel safe in the country anymore. And so that is what I've seen very recently sort of overtaken every other issue where they say, you know, yeah, jobs in the economy matter to me, but it doesn't matter if I'm not safe. So I'll tell you, it's just, there's a lot of frustration and disappointment with the leadership or lack thereof coming from the president and the administration.
All the way down.
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to, when you get elected, and you will get elected, I think,
Thanks.
what do you think you'll contribute to changing the direction of the country?
Well, first of all, again, how can you be expected to accurately respond to the concerns of your constituents if you're not even out there listening to them? So that's the first step. Both of us, we know, being a state rep, you're in the community, you do all of your communications yourself. So I'm very much used to that. I like to hear from people. That's how I know, you know, that I'm on the right track and that I'm serving as I ought to be, is when I've heard their concerns and then I'm acting on it. So one of the things that I've emphasized in my campaign is holding town halls, getting out in the district as much as possible, meeting as many people as possible. That way they can ask me questions, because to me, I'm not running, you know, just to be elected by any means. I'm not going to say or do anything to accomplish that. What I want is people to hear my message, and then if that resonates with them and they feel that's something that will effectively address their concerns, then yeah, you know, please support me. So that's the way I'm going about it. And the disappointment people have right now with the current Congresswoman that I'm running against, Ann Custer, is that she doesn't have public events at all. You know, she touts, oh, she's visiting 30 diners in 30 days. Well, I'll tell you, if I were visiting one diner a day, that would be a pretty light schedule, number one. But number two, you know, it's unannounced. You know, she just pops in, takes a photo with someone. She's never hosted a town hall. That's completely the opposite of how New Hampshire expects their politicians to be. So I think that's a strong contrast, and people are noticing that.
Well, maybe I can get your commitment right now. When you get down there, we'll do Skype interviews with you from Washington.
Yeah, that's fine.
All
you know,
right.
Hey, first of all, my office door is always open to anyone, you know, from New Hampshire. Second of all, yeah, you can do teletown halls.
Right.
But that's the funny part. You know, she talks, well, I have these teletown halls. That's very easy, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so I want to have those, and I also want to have live ones. I think it's really important.
Well, this interview is going to be also on YouTube, so you're going to be able to use that and one way of showing it. Yeah, I know it's nice to get the feedback, the immediate feedback. Knocking on doors, you get some of that, but you don't get enough of it because not everybody's home. So you got to schedule those type of things to really communicate and hear what they have to say, what they think.
For sure.
Well, what do you think about all this negative advertising that you hear, which is in a way, is it accurate? No, I don't think so. I think a lot of it, as you say, they pick up clips from wherever and they try to expand on that, and a lot of it isn't true.
Exactly. I really think it just speaks to two things that people dislike about politics, including myself. One is that people don't campaign based on what they're seeking to accomplish. It's all about negativity and destroying their opponent. And then secondly, the cost of these ads. So when you think that our current Congresswoman, she has served for 2 years as our representative, why isn't she talking about what she's accomplished? Why isn't she talking about what she's going to seek to do? Why isn't she setting her part and defining what has been, you know, should have been her leadership capability? Instead, she's spending, you know, she had $2 million roughly. She's been spending hundreds of thousands of that on negative ads attacking me, you know, on issues that people don't even bring up, right? And then going beyond that, they're even false, you know? So yeah, it's, I've remarked the only people that I've turned away from my town halls, because this is another false claim she's making, that, you know, I screen people and etc. I've said the only people I've sent away are the 2 people you send after me with video cameras, because that's what she does. You know, she wants to take something you say, then distort it, take it out of context, and use it in an attack ad. So that's really become the hallmark of her campaign, and I think that's really sad. And you know, that's not what representative democracy.
Only, it's everybody's campaign.
Yeah, exactly.
They have a couple of camera people coming around.
Yeah.
I see
So I think that's really, really sad.
It is a waste, and as you say, where are the positives? Where are the things that she's going to do or should have done? Why isn't she talking about some of that?
Well, you know, and then when you look, to me, actions speak louder than words. So she loves to talk about her support for veterans. Well, you know, during the Veterans Affairs scandal, the largest scandal that's, you know, ever rocked the Department of Veterans Affairs, she missed 40% of the hearings on that committee. She's on the Veterans Affairs Committee. So that is absolutely ridiculous, and just kind of shows, oh, she speaks for veterans, but doesn't take the time to actually be there during what was the biggest scandal ever. She also, you know, they cut the opportunity for veterans to have a military presence at their funerals. You know, why didn't she fight to get that back?
Yeah.
I think that's really important. Same thing with seniors. She's always touting, oh, her support for seniors. I support seniors. Well, she's one of the biggest champions of Obamacare, and we all know that that raids Medicare to the tune of $716 billion. And, you know, 16,000 seniors are going to be kicked off their Medicare plans in the next year, and they're facing not premium increases, but cuts to the tune of $2,000 to $4,000 in the
Higher
second district.
deductibles and everything.
Exactly.
Like that.
So, you know, again, I think it does what people don't like about politicians in D.C. She says one thing, you know, she'll say a sentence that has these supportive sentiments, but her actions don't back them up.
You know, I've dealt with you for a couple of years up there in Congress, and I think you're very straightforward in dealing on issues that are up there. So maybe that'll brighten up.
Thank you. I do intend to take that same approach, because I think we're lacking that. I think one of the things that makes our legislature really great and a wonderful example of transparency and sort of pure representation is that we're all citizen legislators there. And you really, you know, in the way I ran my campaigns was, I want to tell you my positions, and then that's what I'm going to do when I get there. So I feel as though that shouldn't be an anomaly, you know. You would think that federal campaigns would work the same way, but Ann Custer certainly doesn't, and I'm trying to make sure mine does.
Yeah, it seems like we wanted to be more communicative to all our, not only our voters, but also other members of the legislature. You were part of the HRA up there, and I think that was a good sounding board for a lot of the legislation that went through. I guess what we have here is a more communal legislature than we have down in Washington.
Right, right.
You could change it to what you accomplished up here to accomplish down there. It would be very, very good.
Yeah, well, I think communication is key, again, and that's with each other, and that's with our constituents.
Yeah. Well, you talked about some of the problems that we have that are issues right now that the media are playing up or sometime misplaying. What else do you think is something you want to change when you get down there?
I think what's become apparent is the president and then all those who support him. Ann Custer says she's one of his strongest supporters in all of U.S. Congress, so there you go, is that if you notice, every time there's something that requires clarity of decision, understanding of America's role in the world, or just decisive action to protect Americans, right? Keep us safe, enhance our national security. They're always late to the game. You know, they sort of wait for the crisis to develop and a scandal to erupt and public outcry to become such that they can't ignore it anymore. And, you know, we see this with Ebola. You know, what is their response? Well, we'll keep monitoring the situation, you know, and we shouldn't take any action because we don't want to stem the flow of humanitarian aid. Why don't you charter flights for that, you know? Why not a common sense travel ban, you know? Makes sense to me. Same thing with ISIS. He's calling them a junior varsity team. He withdrew the troops just because, you know, he said he was going to. Which is just a politically motivated thing. He telegraphed to our enemies exactly how long they could wait until we would be gone, and then they could run rampant, which is exactly what happened. You know, Al-Qaeda says ISIS is too extreme for them, and now they have taken over banks, oil fields, other weapons that we had supplied to the Iraqi military. So it's very concerning. You know, U.S. passport holders and European Union ones have joined. You know, unfortunately, I don't see the president leading at all. He just said he, you know, didn't have a strategy a little while ago. Now he's doing airstrikes with other nations, and yet his joint. The Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman, General Dempsey, said, well, you know, ISIS has tactical momentum, meaning they're winning and we're losing. So it's just really concerning. He's always just sort of following behind instead of leading.
He's not leading at all.
Exactly.
I mean, he has all these things that he shoves off into, oh, it's being investigated, it's being investigated. We never
Right.
see an end to the
Exactly.
investigations.
Right, exactly.
And he think he learned from some of the mistakes he's made, but
Yeah.
I don't think he admits to any mistakes.
Well, the thing is, you know, again, there's our scandals. There's, you know, what happened in Benghazi. Our ambassador was killed. We lost some servicemen. The IRS was targeting specific groups for their political affiliation. And so the first impulse of the administration is to absolutely try to cover it up, obfuscate, and lie about it. I mean, that's absurd. Then finally, as you pointed out, an investigation occurs. And then they just pretend, you know, it's not happening. Say they can't find the emails, you know, they blame it on YouTube videos. I mean, it's very, very, if it weren't so important and frightening, I'd say it was immature, you know? It's very, very sad.
Well, just the number of instances that come up, how can we not deny that there's a problem up at the top?
Right. Well, there absolutely is, and that's exactly the issue. When you have failed leadership at the top, but then you also have a failure to distinguish themselves when it comes to our federal reps. So Ann Custer just goes along with everything the president does. So, you know, what's her use? You know, she's not fighting for New Hampshire. She's not even fighting for America at large, you know?
That's true.
She's just doing whatever the president says. And that's some of the feedback I get from people. They say, you know, when she votes on something that affects my life directly, be that some sort of new regulation or, you know, I'm kicked off my health care plan, all of these things, they reach out to her and they either get this, you know, sort of cut and pasted reply from the office, or if they manage to get her on the phone, she says, well, I know this is really important to the Obama administration, so I'm going to have to support it. I mean, what is the use of having her? You know?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything where she's talking about what she believes, you know, just what the party line is,
Right.
which is unfortunate. I mean, we're not paying, what, almost $180,000 a year or something like that for that.
It's just
and
wild.
the staff that they have, too.
Right.
Yeah. But what committees are you going to try to be on when you get in?
Well, I have a lot of interest, as you know, in healthcare policy, so that interests me. I've been serving on finance for 2 terms, so budget issues, that's obviously an issue we have on the federal level. But being on Ways and Means as a freshman member is probably unrealistic. So, you know, I have a strong interest in foreign affairs as well, and that's clearly, you know, an area where, especially if we have a president that has no leadership capability or will to, in that respect, it's important we have a strong congressional input
Team
on
up
that.
with Kelly Ayotte and getting stuff through?
Yeah, she's great. I
Yeah.
really, really respect and look up to her. So I'm really happy she's supporting me. It's great to have her support, Governor Romney's support. Governor Pence was here this morning, Senator Rubio yesterday. So,
Well, I see a lot of future in you. And I think we all do.
well, you know, it's and it's not about that to me. It's just, frankly, I'm running against a terrible representative. So I really appreciate that people not only in the state, but those from across the country recognize that. And they understand New Hampshire's importance and understand that we can do a lot better than what Rep. Custer's doing.
And I think you make a good public appearance so that people, when you do get in, will listen to you and maybe actually change other people in the other states.
Sure, right.
Have you gone to any of the other states yet?
No, I'm not campaigning anywhere else. No. I still haven't met everybody in the 2nd District, so I can't leave.
Oh, boy, you're
It's
checking
hard.
them all off, huh?
Well, fortunately, I don't think I can, but I'm, again, making myself available for people to meet.
Yeah,
So hopefully.
You have a number of things. What do you have coming up this week?
Well, this week is over, so no, I have,
next week, then.
actually, I have an event out in Harrisville, excuse me, later on this evening, so that's a meet and greet, so I'll be meeting a lot of people in that area.
That's a nice little area. I've been
Yeah,
out
yeah, it
there.
really is. And then I have a few more town halls coming up. So that's exciting. We have our debate next Tuesday.
Yes, Channel 9.
Yeah, then I have an NHPR
Radio.
event. Yeah, they have like a breakfast discussion
okay.
that's on Monday. Then I'm going to be doing a bus tour with Scott Brown and Walt
really?
Havenstein, over the
that'd be-
weekend, next weekend. So that'll be really fun. I'm
Wow,
looking
you'll
forward
be
to
going
that.
all up and down the
Yeah,
state,
well,
huh?
we're starting in Berlin, I believe, and just coming all the way down. So,
down.
yeah, stopping at many places along the way. So, yeah, I hope to, meet everyone. I think we end up in Nashua, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and are having a rally with Senator Ayotte, I think.
Oh, that's
so,
nice.
You know how it is. They're always firming up the plans.
You're
so
checking
we'll
on
see.
that. Well, I have to check with Senator Ayotte and see what we can do to get some of that film on that.
Yep.
But,
That'll be good.
well, I think we've gone through a lot in this
Mm-hmm.
few minutes that we have. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this little session?
Really, I just want voters to know that, again, having worked in the state legislature and, grew up in this state, worked here, I really do feel as though we need New Hampshire to be able to have that ability to chart its own course. We have our unique education ecosystem. We have a unique healthcare ecosystem. I think people should be empowered to choose, where they want to go to school, what healthcare coverage they should be able to access. If they want to start a business, they shouldn't feel oppressed by more and more regulations. And we shouldn't have our taxes always going up because, frankly, that limits our ability to allocate our resources the way we need to. We can't invest, and I think it's a very limiting factor. So what I'm hearing from people is they don't trust government, and they don't
Government's
trust.
too large.
Yeah, they don't trust their elected officials, and that is just growing and growing and is getting far too invasive
That's a
and
terrible
far too
attitude.
burdensome.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I've always voted to keep government smaller, voted to lower taxes,
More freedom
lower,
of choices,
reduce
too.
regulations, and allow for the greatest, the widest available options, in education and healthcare. That's the way it ought to be.
And
so.
let the market decide what's the right one.
Yeah,
so-
market and the citizens.
Yeah, the
Yep.
citizens themselves.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very
So,
much for your time.
Sure,
A
thank
very
you.
interesting discussion.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.